Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday, July 7th, 2015. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Cardoodle. This is Jim. Today I'm working a little bit on the next episode of Welcome to Boulder Dash, jumping right in here, creating some posters to put on the background of a teenager's room. There are going to be one or two more posters besides the ones I create here, so that means I'm looking for your input again. Let me know if you have a funny idea for a background gag, or if you want me to plug your YouTube series in the background in one of these posters. As always, anybody whose suggestions I pick will be credited at the end of the cartoon, which should be released sometime this month. More solid release date to come. In the last blog, I mentioned that this upcoming cartoon is going to be themed around time travel, and that actually got me reading on a couple other things besides what I mentioned earlier, like with Doctor Who and Back to the Future. And it was actually a pretty interesting one, and I might be pronouncing this incorrectly, but it's called the Novikov self-consistency principle. And the idea is that if you go backwards in time and try to make a change that would cause a paradox, then that change actually becomes impossible. Now, there's a bunch of theoretical physics involved in this that I really don't understand, but let's kind of start with the classic time travel conjecture known as the grandfather paradox. If you're not familiar with that, the idea is if you go backwards in time and kill your own grandfather before he meets your grandmother, then you're never born. But if you're never born, you never go back in time to kill your grandfather, and so on and so forth. So the Novikov self-consistency principle kind of states that the universe favors improbable events to impossible ones. So using the idea of going back in time to kill your own grandfather once again, let's assume that you don't have murderous intent, but your time machine accidentally slams into him. Your grandfather is crossing the street and your DeLorean happens to materialize right on top of him. Well, with the self-consistency principle, even incredibly improbable events could occur to prevent that outcome from happening. So as your machine materializes, it hits a bump and flips over and flies over his head. Or even something as unlikely as a sudden hurricane appearing and blowing him across the street, preventing you from killing your own grandfather. As improbable as those things are, they are not impossible, thereby preventing the paradox and keeping the laws of physics consistent. Another interesting thing about all this is that it brings up questions about free will. Like, suppose time travel is possible. Well, if it's impossible to actually change anything, that means all events past and future are basically set in stone. So me recording this vlog and you listening to it and watching it are actually not our own decisions. It's just some trick of physics. Now, do I believe that? I don't think so. I think I said before that I believe the way the universe prevents paradoxes from happening is by causing time to only move forward. So free will is kind of still intact there. It just doesn't leave a lot of room for fun-filled time travel adventures. And there's a lot of other crazy stuff out there. Like, I've learned that it's actually been proven that it's possible to move forward in time if you go fast enough. And as a matter of fact, satellites that are in orbit around Earth, because their orbit is faster than the rest of us down here, their clocks continually have to be readjusted to account for the time difference. So that's pretty cool. But then travel to the past causes all sorts of weird problems, most of which involve a very, very high level of theoretical physics that I really can't grasp that well. Like, it's definitely not as simple as building a flux capacitor. Like, it involves phenomenally large amounts of energy, creating wormholes and all sorts of things. And in theory, kind of breaking some of the laws of physics, but also kind of not. I think I'm just gonna go with the whole Doctor Who explanation again, just say wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this blog. Let me know what you thought in the comments section. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next week.